It's a huge card. In fact, the entire card is 10 of the top 15 heavyweights in the world with all the sanctioning bodies, which Frank Warren was telling us just a couple of days ago. He's never known the like before. It's an extraordinary heavyweight packaged Christmas present for the boxing world. And I'm heading there myself in 36 hours and can't wait to be there.
Just one more to you at this point on this, of course. It's the third of these 3 fights that Joshua wanted to do. This is important for him.
Absolutely. And look, if he can beat Otto Wallin, and Wallin's talking a good game. They've met twice in the amateurs before, and Joshua's won twice. If Wallin can stay in there and unsettle Joshua, then he can make it his night. But I think Anthony Joshua under Ben Davison is really looking forward to this fight and wants to stamp his authority and potentially face Deontay Wilder next year. And it doesn't surprise me if Mr. Fisher there would like to be on the card at some point in Saudi Arabia in the next year or two.
Well, absolutely. Well, let's have a word with Johnny right now. Good evening to you, Johnny, as well. Just first of all, with Wallin, tell us a little bit about him as well. He beat Gassiev last time.
Yeah, he beat Gassiev. He's a southpaw, which is always a difficult task because you're training sort of, but he doesn't flip, but who you bring him to sparring, the way that you line up your footwork, all them little things you have to think about a little bit differently to fighting an orthodox fighter. And there's no overlooking Otto Wallin, I don't think, from Joshua's part, because a big dangerous southpaw, we've seen what a big dangerous southpaw can do to someone like Joe Joyce and Jimmy Zhang. And we've seen what Wallin's done to Tyson Fury in the past as well. That's what he's probably most known for, giving him a very, very hard night's work. So I don't think Joshua as a professional will be overlooking this at all.
Just to sort of tell me as well, as Gareth was saying there too, Johnny, that for yourself now, and you look at this sort of these times in Saudi Arabia and everything, I mean, it really is an important time to be very much involved near the top of the tree here, isn't it?
Definitely. I'm, as a fighter myself, I'm Southern Area champion, so I'm beginning my career really. I'm 24 years old, and I'm blessed to have a great fan base here in the United Kingdom and further afield as well. And I'm very, very excited to build it up here. But as you said, everything, the epicenter of boxing is moving to Saudi Arabia. Probably used to be Vegas, and people still probably see Vegas as the capital of boxing. But there's big waves being made in Saudi Arabia. And as you said, not only this card, but card we have with Fury and Ngannou, and that big fight with Fury and Usyk for the undisputed lined up in February. So great big things happening over there.
I tell you what I like about this as well, Gareth, then, is that flexibility that you mentioned, Usyk, and the big fight to come in February, that they're able still to put on this other big Christmas promotion as well. They're showing that they really mean business, aren't they?
Well, of course, Fury and Usyk were originally scheduled to fight on this date.
Yeah.
But given Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion, who was having his first boxing match on October the 28th, upset the apple cart in many ways by, in many people's eyes, beating Tyson Fury on the eye test, knocking him down in the 3rd round and kind of giving him a pummeling in the 8th round. To those that weren't scoring the fight, it looked like Ngannou had won it. Fury wasn't ready to take on Usyk because of that, because the physical enormity of the night on this night on December the 23rd. But what they've done, I think what you're talking about, the lightness on their feet to be able to get this card together at short notice to create something monumental is extraordinary, and it's a willingness to get these kind of events over the line. I mean, I spoke to, you'll know Bob Arum, Mark, going back years of.
I think we've both spoken to him at the same time, haven't we? In the past,
we have indeed on boxing shows we've done. Yeah. And you know that era. Obviously, you were in that era, working in America for people like Sky, interviewing. I think you were there when Mike Tyson came out of prison, weren't you?
Oh, certainly was.
And I think, you know, to interview him, and I think I spoke to Bob Arum this week, and he was saying that there's no doubt that Saudi Arabia will become the go-to destination, not just for boxing, but for big sports events, for very big entertainment events. This Riyadh season is 5 months long. And when you look at the fact that, as you see there, Deontay Wilder coming on stage at the London press conference, to get Deontay Wilder with his manager Shelley Finkel alongside Eddie Hearn, who always called him Shirley Winkle, always kind of had an insulting word for him. To get Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn working together on Frank Warren's Queensberry card as it is out there in Riyadh this week for the Day of Reckoning is amazing. And I think what Bob was saying was there was a time when all the casinos put up huge sums of money in the 70s and 80s to get those big fight nights when there weren't sports franchises in Las Vegas. We take it for granted now. And the same thing is happening in Saudi with golf, with Formula One. They've got the World Cup in 2034, haven't they? And it wouldn't surprise me to see them get, I know this, I'm broadening this out, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them get the Olympics and Paralympics in the 2030s as well. And I think all of this is part of that Vision 2030 that they've got. They don't want to be a petrochemical nation anymore. They want to be a modern economy that sees travellers going there. And in a small way, we're sands of grain in the desert as part of this. But it is very exciting to be involved. And, you know, for someone like Johnny, as he just mentioned, he's Southern Area champion, but there's the prospect of so many of these guys, and maybe the other weight divisions after this one, all fighting there on cards that I imagine it will move to 6 to 8 cards a year in a very short space of time. Well,
just one more to you before I come back to Johnny on that as well, that you talk about the Christmas card as well. There's a light heavyweight crown, isn't there, with Bivol is involved in that against Arthur, and an IBF cruiserweight belt on the line. This is all with Zorro involved, of course. But the whole point is, Gareth, that they don't muck about, whatever anybody says.
No. Well, boxing is a sport, but it's also a business. It's called professional boxing for a reason. And when the money is right, egos and the minutiae of purse bids and purse splits disappear. Like you say, we have got the light heavyweight title fight between Dmitry Bivol, who's really either the #1 or the #2 in the world. There's a guy called Artur Beterbiev who holds 3 of the belts, against Lyndon Arthur, our very own Lyndon Arthur, who's a formidable fighter. But I see Bivol as a big favourite in that. By the way, the Jaya Pattaya, the cruiserweight, has had his IBF title stripped, by the way, by the IBF because they don't like Ellis Zorro as the opponent. So they're going to go ahead anyway. And that's more indication to your point that these guys are going to fight regardless of belts over there, because the money, we're hearing, can be 2 or 3 times what they're earning elsewhere at the moment.
Yeah. So, Johnny, let's talk a little bit more with you now. The record 10-0, 9 by knockout at this stage. What's the year going to be looking like for you coming round?
Well, hopefully in the next 2 days I've got an exciting announcement, something I've dreamed of doing, fighting abroad somewhere. It's not Vegas, but it's somewhere not too far away. And I've got a lot of loyal supporters who wanted to see an away day of some sort. And I'm very, very lucky to have the fan base I've got. I remember when I fought at Alexandra Palace in my 5th fight, sold 3,000 tickets, sold 2.5 at the O2. I was very lucky to fight on a Joshua undercard, and I'm very, very grateful, not only for the support I've got, but the team I've got as well. I won Young Boxer of the Year this year as well. So I'm in a great place, and it'd be great to use my next fight as a springboard to sort of broaden that appeal. And as Gareth was saying, there's all different opportunities out there in boxing.
Yeah.
We're in a dangerous sport, and we've got to make sure that we get remunerated for that. But for me, it's not just about that. That's a huge, huge part. But for me, it's about the journey and the experiences I can have along the way. And I'm very, very grateful to be in the position I am.
You know, and the other thing, I mean, you played rugby at a very decent standard as well. So, you know, this combination, you know exactly, you're going into with your eyes wide open. What I like, Gareth, and I'm going to get Johnny to speak first and then you, is, Gareth, I like the way Johnny's talking. When these boxers talk to us like this is what we want to hear. You know, we're not going too far, just making sure that we've got the solid parts. So, as you said, you're not going to be in Vegas, but you hopefully will be abroad. It's going to be good. Yeah. Romford will be with you all the way anyway.
Definitely. Well, listen, I'm very, very grateful for the support I've got. And one thing's for sure, I will never over-talk myself. I won't ever be arrogant. But people know when they watch me fight, they'll get excitement and they'll get knockouts. And that's what people want. That's why Saudi Arabia invested so heavily into heavyweight boxing. Because I see heavyweight boxing slightly different to the rest of the sport. It's slightly different in the way we have to prepare. There's no weight cutting. We're the big boys. We've got big, big punches. We've got big hands. And it's excitement. That's what people want to watch. People want to watch sport to be entertained. And that's the bottom line. And my fighting style will entertain people, that's for sure.
I remember so many years ago sitting there alongside Henry Cooper, would you believe, when Lennox Lewis got knocked out. Do you remember? By the man that Frank Bruno eventually beat for the world title. And I remember Henry, I think it was early on, he just went over the top. And Henry, I said, what about that for Lennox? He isn't going to get up. He won't get up here. And, of course, he was spot on. Heavyweight has always been something that our fathers and others, Gareth, my grandfather in particular, told me about. I learnt about the heavyweight division, and it is something special. And if you can reach that weight, it is something special to be part of it.
Absolutely. Well, Muhammad Ali was a childhood hero for me. One of the reasons I got into boxing, and you know, it will have been similar for you. And we used to listen to them as little kids with our dads on the wireless, as it was then. You know, and again, CCTV as it was then. There was one satellite at one point. People watched in cinemas and theatres when big fights were on. Now, people stream these fights on their phones wherever they are. Johnny will be off somewhere now. He's a young man. He'll be off out at some venue with his mates. He's all over the place, and he's probably fighting at the Isle of Wight or somewhere like that in the new year. I'm not sure where it's going to be yet. I don't actually know, but
yet to be revealed.
And yet to be revealed. I'm not going to get to reveal it right now, but I think the way that we consume boxing, the way that we consume heavyweight fighting has changed. You know, we go through that era, like you say, Lennox Lewis, and the eras of Mike Tyson, and through the Klitschko era, and now into this Fury Usyk, Wilder Joshua era. They've all got their stars, and I think this is as big an era. You can't. It's odious to make these comparisons, but this is as good an era in terms of the fights that can be made, and I think that concern that we had over the last year, Mark, is that we're finally getting the opportunity with the Saudis in place to get all these big fights over the line in the next 2 years.
You couldn't have said it better. Getting it over the line is so important at this very highest level. They're doing that. It means that we can all begin to dream of 2024. And Johnny, just to say, as a Sunday Night Club debutant with us here on TalkTV, it's an absolute delight to have you with us. Do come back and share your stories in the future. Good luck with the announcement in a couple of days. Have a great Christmas and have a fantastic New Year as well.
All of you as well. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year.
That's
all the
brilliant.
best to you all.
And Gareth, just keep us going with all your messages from around the world.
Will do. Thanks, Mark.